Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Gracie Caps here. If you are joining us for the first time, you're most definitely welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, plenty love for you. So to start this makeup, I will clean our face first with my micellar water so as to remove all the dirt on our face, so that whatever product that I apply on our face can sink in perfectly well. So I'll start by cleaning the eyes and everywhere, and then next I will start with the eyes as usual. I love to start with the eyes because I will be using pigment for this look. So I will start by using these two products here, Younger Beauty and the other base. It's actually a white and a brown base. I mix them together to get the shade that you're seeing now, because I don't want a very bright base, neither do I want a very dark base. So I decided to mix both of those colors together, and this is what I got. And then, so I'll use this eyeshadow called If the Crown Fits, and I'll start with a brownish color in the palette, and then I'll start blending bit by bit from the outer V into the crease, and I'll be taking these colors or applying these colors a bit by bit so that I'll get the concentration that I want, because I don't want it too much but I still want it to be looking visible. So I have to apply it bit by bit, blend, apply, blend, apply, blend, until I get the desired shade that I'm looking for. And I'll do the same thing on this side of the eye so that they can look the same. So I make sure they are the same before I move on to the next color that I'll be using. So I just use two colors for this eyeshadow for now, because I want I'm trying to create half smoky eye with shimmer color on the eyelid, because it's a brighter shoot that we are doing. So I want the eyes to stand out, so I'll be going in with pigment as well for this eye so that it will look more brighter. So that's just what this look is about. But always remember that your colors you have to blend it over and over and over again, so there will be no harsh lines on the eyelids. Some parts will not be looking more concentrated than others. So I'm adding the next color, and I'm going to just add it on that outer V and blend it seamlessly so that there will not be demarcation between the first one and the second one. So you cannot tell where your first color stops from where your second color stops. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm using the same brush that I used to apply the first color to do this. So I'm just blending, apply, blend, apply, blend. That's just it. And I'm taking the colors. You can tell how many times I've lifted this brush off her eye and then come back. Next is my shimmer color on her eyelid. So I'm using a flat brush to apply this, and then after applying this with the flat brush, I'll go back in with a fluffy blending brush and still take this color and pat it on the eyelid, so that if there is any part that is not well applied, it can cover very well, because I want the eyeshadow to really pop. So if you use a fluffy brush after using a flat brush to apply your eyeshadow, if you use a fluffy brush to apply, to take that same color and go over it, you see that the concentration will be different. If there is any part that looks like there is harsh line, there is opening while you are swiping the flat brush on the eyelid, the fluffy brush will cover it up. So that's just what this process is about. And then I will go in with my pigment, and I'm using this NYX pigment glue with this my pigment. One is a darker one is from green family and one is orange. So the orange pigment comes in front, and then the greenish one comes to the back of it. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm using the same brush that I used to pat the eyeshadow on to apply the pigment. So that's just what I am doing right now. So when I'm done with this, I'll clean up the under eye, take off the remaining pigment that falls on the face. Then I went in with my glycerin, moisturizer, and then I like to use my hand to blend and blend into the skin so that I can really massage it into the skin. This glycerin, the feeling like is like oil, but it's not oil, so you have to really blend it well to sink into the skin. And the next thing I use for my primer is this the Hela new airbrush primer is what I used. It's nice, but I will tell you that if you have this primer, don't use just this primer for your clients because of the effects, the outcome, the way it reacted later. Back it up with another good primer. So I'm just going to use my hand to massage it into the skin very well. For my foundation, they are from Younger Beauty 5 and 7, and I'm using my makeup seal from Hager and Esther, and my blush. So what I usually do is I drop the makeup seal inside my foundation and mix it well before applying it on the face. So I just said I should explain that while I am blending this blush on her skin. You already saw the blush I use. It's from Nigerian Beauty. Yeah. So because the makeup seal helps to hold the foundation, like it makes it lightweight, but also stay matte on the face. Though Younger Beauty foundation is waterproof, so but it helps. So it's actually very good. If you are doing your makeup, you can add it in your makeup. Then my concealer from Milani in shade 155, and I'm using my fluffy brush to just apply this underneath the eye. This brush I'm using is very nice because it's application, it makes it easier when you are applying it, applying your concealer under the eye. It's just very soft and it blends like you're using a beauty blender, like a foam. You can clearly see the way it is with just the brush. So I try to use the brush very well to push it into the skin, so that when I go in with the beauty blender, it's just to further push it, and then what's it called, reduce any harsh lines that is underneath the eye and all the part that I highlighted. And when I blend under the eye with my beauty blender, I don't go in with just the empty beauty blender dabbing under the eye. No, I either take the concealer, or at most times I take my foundation, like I use my beauty blender to touch my foundation, rub it, and then use that part to blend my concealer, so that the what's it called, if there is any part that is not well concentrated, everything will just come together. And I like with my what's it called, highlights and my foundation looking almost the same. So if the highlighted places are looking off, I go in with my foundation to reduce the brightness on those parts. So that's just how I like to blend my highlighted places. So that's just what I did here too, blending the bridge of the nose and all. Everything about makeup is blending, whether you're using beauty blender, whether you're using beauty puff, whether you're using brushes, everything is blending. So to contour, I use my Milani concealer as well to do my highlight, did I say highlight, my contour, and then that same concealer to do my nose contour because it was not looking very dark. Yeah, so most times if it's too dark, most times the contour on the side of the face and on the bridge of the nose is not always the same for me. I always go lighter on the nose than on the face or the chin, wherever that place is. So this is my setting powder from Mirac Ginger is what I'm using. And before I set underneath the eye, I always go back in with my beauty blender to blend under the eyes, and I will ask whoever, my client or my model, to look up and keep their eye up before I set, so that the folds that creates line underneath the eye, the line will not be there. And I like to use my beauty puff for this application. I'm not a fan of brush or fluffy brush. Yes, I'm not a fan of brush for my setting or setting under the eye. I'm not a fan. So I always use my powder puff to set underneath the eye, and I make sure that I set underneath the first eye until it is dry. You can see the way it is. I make sure it is dry before I leave it. Like I go over and over and over and over, patting and like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so that it is dry, so that if the person start looking up and down, you will not be seeing line creasing underneath the eye. No, I always take my time to do that, so that I'll get a matte look, because I'm a fan of matte look. And then the next thing I'm going to do after setting all the highlighter places, I use the same powder puff to apply my powder first before I use my powder brush. So I just use that puff, rub it on my powder, and then I will pat it on the face, like push it into the skin. The aim is just to dry everywhere, and I do it generously and like gently. Don't go be hitting the person's face, but do it gently everywhere. And by the time I'm done with this process, you see that the face is matte. Then I'll go back in with my brush and just do small powdering and brushing up. That's just what I do for my powder application. I always, for models, for clients, I always go through this process because it helps. Even for me personally, if I'm doing my makeup, I still do this process because it helps my makeup to stay longer than when I just use my brush to apply my powder. Yeah, it's just like you are sealing everything down. That's just what this process, this particular way of applying powder, that's just what it does for me. It looks like I sealed everything down. So this is just touching of small powder from the powder palette and brushing the face. That's just what I'm doing now, and it's not really too much. I'm not adding too much again. It's just small that I'm doing. Then I am going back into bake under the eye because I don't like too much highlights looking too bright and all. I like to use minimal setting powder when I want to bake. I don't do those overly bright powders under the eye. I just do small, make sure everywhere is dry, the brows and all, and that's basically what I do. So I did the brows off camera because my phone was I was having a little issues. The light went off and so many things before I could continue, and there was no time to for my shoot, so I just did the brows off camera. So what I usually do after concealing my brows, I will use a small fluffy brush and blend. Then I will set it with my powder or setting powder, anyone that is closer to the shade available. I'll use it. Then I will go back in with the first color that I used for the eye, the first brown, and just blend the edges so that there will not be demarcation between the concealer on the eye and the what's it called, the first transition color. And then I went in, intensify the outer V color, set with my first dewy spray, and then I lock it up with this BH cosmetic spray. Yeah, so she was not expecting the second round, sorry. So that's just what I did here, and this is the finished look after I highlighted with this Beauty by AD glow, and that is all that I did for this look. So since this was a shoot, after everything, she changed into the outfit, which you are going to see at the end of this video. So this is basically what I did for this shoot. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Thank you for your likes, thank you for your subscription, thank you for your comments. See you in the next video. If you've not subscribed, please don't leave this place without subscribing. Thank you so much.